Hi guys, I'm back. Happy New Year to you all. Went about 8 or 9 days without doing a video. That's the biggest stretch I've gone without doing a video for since I started. Basically, the plan was to take a few days off Christmas, and I said I might do a video or two if something major happened, but that didn't really happen as such. It was quiet over Christmas. Obviously, you transfers and things like that, but I don't do video on each transfer. So I left it at that, and I did enjoy the Christmas period, to be fair. But now I'm eager to get back into it, and there's going to be plenty of videos coming up now, guys, in the next few days for a start. And today, obviously, looking at the Premier Division top 10 under 21 talents in the league, in my opinion. Obviously, there's quite a few that are going to be left out as well. But the way I've done it is, obviously under 21 for a start, but players that haven't really started, say, 10 matches yet. There's a few players that may have had a decent amount of appearances for their clubs, but haven't managed 10 starts yet, and that kind of thing. So anyone established, you're not going to find Dawson Devoy in this video because he's an established young player. He was in it maybe a year or two ago. I have to admit, though, I've one player in it, though, that I did have, I think, last year, but he didn't play an awful lot of games he didn't start an awful. We get into him later anyway, to be honest with you. But the list is interesting. I ranked it as well. It's not easy to rank, so I'll be interested to see what people think. Obviously, there'll be other players as well. So let's get straight into it, guys. So, lads, at number 10, I've come for Sean Grehan of Bohemians. Sean is only 17 years of age. He's a central defender, one of the standouts in the recent Bows under 19 squad. We know that Crawley and Keith Long don't have a problem putting in a young player if they feel he's good enough and ready. And from what I've seen of him, he looks a mature player. He's good on the ball, actually. Very good on the ball. I'm pretty sure I've seen him score a long range effort for the under 19. Some Bohemians players might let me know, or players, maybe players as well. Bohemian supporters might let me know in the comments there. But definitely got a bit of a cultured look about him. Both had problems in centre half last year, to be honest, and Cornwall has left the club as well. So there could be a gap there for him to steal, if you like. Certainly as a third option. Will they put him out on loan? Excuse me. He throat after the Christmas period. Probably not at this point, I would suggest. I think he might be working with the first team squad, in my opinion. So definitely one to watch is Sean Grehan. And if he doesn't make it into the team this year, I'll be very surprised if he doesn't make it in at some point the next season. So Sean Grehan, Bohemians at number 10. At number 9, I've gone for another central defender, actually, and this is Mhao from Dundalk. I am not going to even try and pronounce the second name, guys. You can check it up. Dundalk fans can't exactly tell me in the comments how to pronounce it either. But this guy looks a beast, to be honest with you. He played 6 times for Dundalk last season, 6 starts as a central defender. And Dundalk were missing players. Raw, yes, no doubt about it, but very young, still a teenager. Big guy. Bit of pace about him as well. One to watch for sure. Now, Dundalk have signed Brian Gartland back, which is important because he's experienced, but does suffer injuries. They've got Andy Boyle and Sam Bone. So there's 4 options there. O'Donnell sometimes plays 3 at the back. So, there's no reason why Mhao can't get some game time next season. I think particularly if he keeps up the hard work and effort he put in last season. I've seen him a few times, actually, like 6 times he played. I would have watched most of those games on TV, but I did see him live against, I think it was Finn Harps in the Cup. And whereas he made a couple of mistakes in the game, you could see the raw ability there as well, and he put in a good performance overall. And for me, looks a player and could be Dundalk. I think are craving for some young talent to come through from their academy and actually make a name for themselves. And for me, there's a couple there, Ryan O'Kane and that as well. But for me, this guy, Mhao, looks the more likely at this minute in time. So Mhao at number 9. Now, number 8, I've gone for Jack Moylan of Shelburne. Now, Jack is the only player in the list who actually started 14 times, more than 10 times last season, but it was in the first division with Wexford while he was out on loan. Jack Moylan came through the Bows Academy, but I know Bows fans will be disappointed actually that the 20-year-old has moved on to Shelburne and if you like not stay the Bohemians, because you'd argue at Bows maybe there's options to get into midfield almost as much as Shelburne, but you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. maybe he felt he did have a better chance of getting in at Shelbourne. Shelbourne have obviously signed the likes of Derby and Mark Coyle. But Moylan's a different type of player. Moylan is a player, good technique, an eye for a goal. He scored 7 goals at Wexford last year, to be fair as well, which was fairly impressive in my opinion. And, he was excellent. I believe he might have been player of the year, despite being only there half a season. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he might be player of the year. So a player to watch out for. Shelbourne next season going to be interesting to watch. They're going to have Coyle and Derby, as I said, in the middle of the park. Can Moylan be the kind of flair player in there to kind of give them that ability? And obviously Damien Duff, he'll try and play good football as much as he can. I think he'll appreciate Jack. Can Jack step up though to Premier Division level? Obviously the First Division level is a different level, but at the same time, for a 20-year-old to go down in Wexford and be the main man isn't easy. Sometimes good players, you know what I mean, can get lost in teams that are maybe struggling a little bit, because he was in a team that struggled last season. There's no doubt about that. But could be a shrewd signing for Shelbourne generally. Most of these players have come through their academies, but this is actually a signing. So Jack Moylan, Shelbourne, definitely one to watch, guys. And number 7, and you'd have to have a UCD player in the list. This year I've gone for Evan Caffrey. Evan's only 18 years of age. 9 appearances last season for UCD, only 7 starts, 2 goals. Started come into it later in the season, which is a good sign. They obviously have your Kerrigans and your Whelans, and people know about them players. But Caffrey could be a player that, bursts onto the Premier Division scene, if you like, and get some game time and really kick on, because nearly every year UCD uncover a star. It'll be important for them actually to keep Whelan and Kerrigan at least till the summer, and I believe they'll do that. But Caffrey, what that does is then it gives the likes of Caffrey and the likes can come into the team and 1 or 2 others, and maybe not as much pressure on them, but by the time the others leave, they've established themselves. So I think Caffrey will look to do that, and I think he will do that for UCD next season. As I said, they lost Doyle as well to Dundalk there, so there's a spot opening up as well. So I think Caffrey, even at 18, as we've seen with UCD in the past, he's one to watch out for big time next season, guys. Now, number 6, guys, have gone for Mhao Budiev of Drogheda United. Now, Mhao is a player that can play right back and central midfield. He starred actually in their Shield under-19 victory over Waterford, played central midfield that day and managed to score. Looks a really good athlete more than anything, excuse me. Drogheda, obviously, a few changes to their squad. James Brown leaving the club. Looks like he's off to Blackburn. Will Mhao be an option for the right back slot, or will they look for him to play in midfield more? That's the question. I'm not too sure, but there's spots there for him to push on, I think, at Drogheda. Only 19 years of age as well. He could be a good natural replacement actually for Brown, because, as I said, he's a bit of an athlete. He could get up and down. Obviously, wouldn't have the experience of Brown or whatever, but there's an option there at right back. There's an option in centre midfield. There's a lot of players Drogheda for centre midfield. Pointing could be used as a right back as well. So it really depends how Kevin Doherty wants to play and wants his full backs to play, etc. But nonetheless, Budiev is definitely a player to watch. And, I definitely think we'll see him in a Drogheda jersey next season. I think he made 1 appearance last season. That was it, the senior team. Maybe come on as a sub, but definitely keep an eye for Budiev, guys. He comes in at number 6. So number 5, guys, have gone for Evan McLaughlin at Derry City. Now, he started 10 times last season, but just made the cut, the 19-year-old. 15 appearances overall, quite a few sub appearances. Scored in his debut for Derry City as well, actually. But a player that can play in a number of positions as well. You might, in a way, say he'll find it harder next season with the options Derry have, but they are in Europe, Derry. And he can play, as I say, in a number of positions. He can play defence, he can play midfield, as a number 10 type player. He's small in stature, so he is, but he's stronger than he looks, if you know what I mean. He's tenacious and tigerish. And on the other side of things, with some of the signings Derry have managed to bring to the club, he could well improve by playing with those players as well. So you've got 2 sides of the coin, like one where you say, it might be harder for him to get in, but then that challenge can elevate a player as well. And I definitely think he's a good player. Any player that played in Rory Higgins' team basically last season and managed to get 15 appearances, 10 starts by the end of the season, at the age of 19 is definitely one to watch. There's no doubt about it. Ronan Boyce was the man last year for Derry, and he'll continue to be a very good player, I'm sure. But Evan McLaughlin could be the one to watch out for this season in terms of a newer player, so to speak. So Evan McLaughlin for me comes in at number 5, guys. Now, number 4, I've gone for Jamie Mullins of Bohemians, and some Bohs fans be wondering how do they replace Ross Tierney. Well, I think Jamie Mullins steps up, basically. He made 11 appearances for the club last season, 7 starts as well. Was the youngest Bohs player ever to score as well last season at the age of 16. He's now 17 years of age, got a couple of goals for them last season, and a player I think will just slot into that midfield. A different type of player to Ross Tierney, but you can never replace players like for like, particularly in the League of Ireland. But, you know, Mandrew left, you know, Tierney left, Mullins will be in. And they just have that crop of players coming through at Bohs that they seem to be able to replace. And I think, obviously, there's a spot there now. I think the Boy will play, obviously. He's got Levinson there. And players like that, and Doherty's come in as well. He's one to watch as well, in many ways. But as far as Mullins is concerned, as I said, only 17. It was good in flashes last season. You could see the quality he had, but it's very difficult to be good consistently when you're not in the team consistently. And a lot of the time, by the way, he was in the team as well. He was kind of in the team when they played second string type players in certain games. So I'll be interested to see him proper in the Bohs team, and I've no doubt that he'll be in the Bohs team regularly next season. And I think by the end of the season, his stock will be much higher than it even is now. But Jamie Mullins at 17 years of age is one to watch, guys. Now into the top 3, guys, and at number 3 you've got James Abankwah, St. Patrick's Athletic, another 17-year-old central defender. James is a very talented youngster. He's quick, he's agile, and he's very clever, actually. He's got a great footballing brain on him as well, good on the ball too. So 6 appearances for St. Patrick's Leg last season. He started 3 of the games, came on in the cup final as well against Bohemians, and actually did really well as well. So, you know, hard to believe he's 17 when you look at him. He really is a giant of a man. One little issue with him is he tends to suffer from muscle injuries. I'm not sure exactly what the problem is, whether it's his calves or something like that, but he does suffer from muscle injuries and did have to be taken off in some games because of it, by only starting 6 times as well. So that would be my one little concern with him. Otherwise, I probably would have had him higher than 3, but at the same time, you know, Lee Desmond's left Pats. You know, Tim Clancy, another manager, no problem putting in a player if he feels he's good enough regardless of the age. So, you know, there's a spot there at Pats. They're lighter probably in defence even than they were last season at this minute anyway, certainly. So a player that can really step in, I think, can really make a name for himself this season if he can sort out those issues with his muscle injuries. Hopefully he does. He'll play a lot of games next season for St. Patrick's Athletic. I've no doubt about that. So coming in number 3, James Abankwah. 2 is another St. Patrick's Athletic player. It's Ben McCormack, the 18-year-old. Only made 5 starts last season, believe it or not, guys. He came on 18 times, but only made 5 starts. And he was the player that I had in the list last year as well. But injuries and the fact that Pats were well stacked in midfield, that Forrester, Lennon, Alfie Lewis and Benson meant that his chances were limited, to be fair. And I think injuries at the back end of the season, he was out for the last few months, didn't help him either. But when he did play at times, he looked really, really good. Scored a goal against Bray, lovely header. Came on against Cork City and helped change the course of the game. And that cup tie, Pats ended up going on to win the cup. Really, really good midfield player, still only 18. So with Alfie Lewis gone and with Benson gone, you would think that now is a chance for Ben to step up, a bit like Mullins in a way, that he can really get a consistent run in the Pats team. And I've seen him play for the Pats under, 19s a few times as well. Really, really good player. Can do a bit of everything. He's one of those midfielders. He can do a bit of everything. Can score goals. So that's something Pats will be looking to big time next season. I think now is the time that Ben McCormack needs to push on, I think, next season. I believe he will do. So Ben McCormack comes in at number 2. Now, number 1, I've gone for Adamo Matthew of Shamrock Rovers. He's only 18 years of age, can play anywhere in the forward line, on the wing and behind, up front. 12 appearances last season, but only started twice for Shamrock Rovers. And looked really, really sharp. Managed to get a goal as well. He's got unbelievable skill. I think Shamrock Rovers is the hardest team for any of these youth players to break into. And the fact that he did make 12 appearances, 10 off the bench last season, 2 starts, shows how highly they think of him at the club. And I do expect him to play a few more games next season for Shamrock Rovers, particularly now as, he's coming in from the start, if you will, as well. But as I said, a player with a lot of skill. Of course, he can improve in certain aspects of the game, like all these players, no doubt about that. But he does kind of make you stand up a little bit and watch when he gets on the ball, because he's liable to do anything. He can beat a man, he can dribble, he can try something unusual as well. And it's always exciting to see that. And as I said, just there as well at the start, if you're breaking in at Shamrock Rovers at 18 and getting in games, you really are one to watch. And I think most of the other players on the list will probably struggle to do that. So for me, I've gone for Adamo Matthew as number 1. So guys, that's the end of the list. Let me know what you think of the list. Any honourable mentions you'd want to throw in? There's plenty of players. I'm not going to list them all off. I'll let people list them off down below, to be fair. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, guys. Going into the new year, hope you had a good Christmas. And that's it for me. Plenty of videos on the way. See you later. Bye bye now.